The nature in Madagascar is incredible and unique.
You had the most beautiful physical location and people who were just as, if not more beautiful.
The conservation in Madagascar is not really a priority for our government because Madagascar's nature is all the species we have here, like fauna and flora, most of them are endangered. I think we should turn more to the local people to have an efficient conservation.
The Malagasy people are intimately connected to their environment and the ecosystems around them. That said, the political and social environment has created such endemic poverty in Madagascar that many Malagasy people are left with no choice but to exploit those natural resources that are so rich in Madagascar for their own survival.
Deforestation is a huge issue in Madagascar. They're doing it so that they can plant crops and grow food and make profit, but also feed themselves and their families. It's like, what else? Am I gonna protect the tree or am I gonna feed my child? How can you make that type of sacrifice, potentially the ultimate sacrifice, in the name of conservation?
Ranomafana is one big national park in Madagascar, and it was set up with an effort to really protect that forest while still allowing access to the forest.
Huge rainforest, beautiful, like it's a sea of green, which is such a contrast to some of the other places in the country we were. It's managed and run by locals. There are tour guides and scientists. The tour guides that we got to interact with were wonderful. We had two who were with us the whole time, Tuju and Mihaja. Has really shown being a tour guide, investing into your environment can actually be a beautiful symbiotic relationship.
Ecotourism is a system of tourism that seeks to make environmental conservation and tourism positive sum. That means that both the tourist and the ecology can benefit from tourism.
Most of the people in the village, their main income is related to the tourism, either directly or indirectly.
It smells vanilla. It's beautiful. It smells good. Oh, it smells great. Price.
Ecotourism is a great way to financially support conservation. Although there just needs to be a balance between the amount of ecotourism that's happening so that the conservation can happen.
It's difficult because some people are happy because they get some benefit from the park with the tourism, with the research, and also some people work on the hotel and some people work on the different company. They are happy, but the people who not work on the park, they are unhappy.
The grandfather of all tour guides was Emil. He's a scientist. Emil was the tour guide for one of the scientists who initially came and started the idea of this national park and the research center specifically. And he's discovered insects and frogs, and he's someone who has not only bought into the idea of conservation, but has invested back into his community.
Research is very important because if no researcher, they didn't know what is in the forest. And then that's very important for tourism. And then the research employed more people. It's a relationship with each other.
I view tourism as one way to support the art that I do. So I guess it depends on who you ask, because if you ask the guides, like, it's a very good business for them. And then it helps the local businesses. And then if you go talk to people in the villages, it has less impact on their, especially financial situation.
Because poverty is so endemic in Madagascar, we do see the Malagasy people engaging in activities that has detrimental harm on the ecosystem. Some examples might be cutting down mangroves for the purposes of agricultural cultivation. We saw slash and burn agriculture, which is where the locals might completely burn a huge swath of land in hopes of developing it in the future for agriculture. And we also saw deforestation so that they could use the wood, and particularly the old growth wood, for fuel and charcoal production.
Local people, Malagasy people, are not aware of the richness of the country, the biodiversity, lemurs, and 6 of the 9 species of baobabs found around the world are only found here in Madagascar. With the current education system, we don't learn that.
Every day they have to find money to feed themselves, so they clear the forest, they chase animals, and so that's why, a lot of people, they don't care about the environment.
They don't feel that they have much of a choice when this resource is available to them that could make their lives so much better. It's hard to convince them that these practices should stop for the health of future generations.
Change requires a transition period, and it's a huge ask to ask a father or a mother, hey, stop doing this thing that you've been doing for generations so that you can protect your forests, but your kids will probably starve more for the next several years until we get this thing under control. We had one day to go visit the mangroves. One of the beautiful things about seeing the mangroves and helping them, plant a couple while we were there was seeing that people are invested in conservation. The Malagasy people recognize how life-threatening the situation right now is and how life-saving it can be if they put in the work.
Bati avelidi divava kumiteni ampia izari nitundra mangidi titi kutadidi reni retireni fizau siala amafia falina anume falampina Nimitu vya michu Rae vya la iteni
If I can change one thing, it will be the education system in Madagascar.
It's very hard because lots of people not passed at the high school and then no knowledge about the forest and then the conservation. And
people all over the country that we met are trying to teach people in primary school, like, how do we treat the forest? This is why it's important, because the children will go then and tell their parents. I asked Tuju, would you ever move? And he was like, no, of course not. This is my home. I take deep pride in it. With all its flaws, with all its political issues and environmental issues, this is my home.
The big thing is to participate in the change. Because here in Madagascar, you cannot really expect politicians to change things. So I think the most things important to do is to change ourselves first.
In Madagascar, the challenges are really serious. And so we have to come up with a way to match helping those people prosper and live meaningful lives with conservation. They can't be done in isolation.
It's a beautiful country that has attributes that are fleeting.
Ecotourism is, I think, the best thing that we should promote the most in Madagascar to conserve this nature. Wherever you are, if you are aware of climate change, environment conservation, if you want to participate in that conservation, you should visit Madagascar.
Think about these people, support Malagasy artists, share these stories. The life that we saw there is worth preserving and worth fighting for.